Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are diving into a truly fascinating area, the world of adolescent development.
Hmm.
Our primary source for this deep dive is an incredibly rich, comprehensive reference from the American Psychological Association titled Developing Adolescents, a Reference for Professionals.
What's really interesting about this document, though, is that it wasn't written just for psychologists.
Right.
It's designed for anyone who works with young people. I mean, doctors, lawyers, teachers, social workers, you name it.
Okay.
So our goal in this deep dive is really to pull out the most important insights from this material, kind of giving you a shortcut to truly understanding what's normal as young people make that, well, complex transition from childhood to adulthood.
We're talking about everything from the, dramatic physical changes they undergo to how their thinking, emotions, and social interactions transform.
Exactly.
And you might actually be surprised by some of the facts we uncover today that could genuinely shift your perception of teenagers.
I think so.
So let's maybe start with some common perceptions. When you think about teenagers, what immediately springs to mind?
Well, yeah, the media often paints that picture of storm and stress.
Right. You hear the headlines about gang violence, school shootings, drug abuse. It's pretty heavy stuff.
It is. And in fact, a 1999 survey found that a significant 71% of the public associated negative terms like rude, wild, irresponsible with American teenagers.
71%. Wow.
Yeah. But is that the full story? I mean, this document strongly pushes back against that narrative.
That's so.
It highlights that the vast majority of adolescents actually succeed in school, maintain strong connections with their families and communities, and, navigate their teen years without serious problems.
That's a powerful reframing. It really is.
Yeah.
And the good news is that same survey also found that 89% of respondents believe almost all teenagers can get back on track with the right guidance.
Which puts the focus back on us.
It really underscores our vital role as adults.
Exactly. Looking at the broader implications, the document emphasizes that adolescents, despite their occasional protests for independence, they actually need and want adults in their lives to nurture, teach, guide, and protect them. It's about consciously shifting our perceptions towards the positive and recognizing the importance of proactive, ongoing support.
Okay, so if we're moving beyond just the headlines, how do we truly get a handle on this complex period?
Well, the APA gives us a really helpful framework.
Okay.
They break adolescent development down into 5 interconnected areas. It's almost like a blueprint for how young people grow and interact with their world.
5 areas, right? Let's pull apart each of these pieces then. Where should we start?
Maybe with the most obvious one, physical changes.
Okay, physical development. We all know puberty brings dramatic physical changes, but here's a surprising point you mentioned. The timing is often earlier than most of us realize.
Yeah, the data reveals something pretty striking. Nearly 7% of white girls and a significant 27%. 27% of African-American girls are showing signs of puberty as early as age 7.
Age 7? Wow.
That's a full 1 to 2 years earlier than many might expect.
Which means waiting until age 13 to talk about puberty is often, well, years too late for many kids.
Exactly. The source recommends preparing them around age 9 or 10.
Okay.
And it's not just about the biological changes themselves, it's the preparation. Girls who are unprepared for menstruation often experience more difficulty, and boys can be quite perplexed by their first ejaculations if they haven't been prepared.
Right, that makes sense.
So, given this individual variability, a critical question arises. How do we best support these young people? The document highlights that early maturing girls are at higher risk for things like depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, and disruptive behaviors.
And it's not just girls, right?
No, late maturing boys also face their own risks, things like depression, conflict with parents, and even bullying because of their smaller stature sometimes.
This leads us directly to body image, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Adolescents become intensely focused on appearance.
Hugely focused. And the document urges adults to take their concerns seriously, whether it's about acne or weight, rather than just dismissing them as, teenage stuff.
Yeah, don't just brush it off.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that physically active adolescents generally have better health outcomes overall.
Right.
Yet the report points out that 14% of adolescents are now overweight. That's nearly triple the 1980 rate.
Triple. Wow.
Often linked to declining physical activity and, poor nutrition. The document emphasizes channeling that physical energy into positive activities like sports, dance, or even physically demanding part-time jobs, while also acknowledging common barriers like cost or transportation that can get in the way.
And tightly linked to body image, unfortunately, are eating disorders.
Yes. The source indicates that about 0.5% to 1% of females aged 12-18 are anorexic, and 1% to 3% are bulimic.
And it's predominantly female.
Over 90% of cases are female, yes.
Okay.
Expanding on that, the document outlines key protective factors. Things like fostering acceptance of a broad range of appearances, promoting a positive self-image that goes beyond just physical looks, and educating about the dangers of negative weight focus.
That's so important.
And it's crucial not to assume only white girls are at risk either, as some disordered eating patterns actually vary across different ethnic groups.
Got it. Okay, so that's the physical side. What about cognitively, how their thinking changes?
Right. When we talk about cognitive development, a truly fascinating insight from this document is how adolescents' brains are actually rewiring for complex, abstract thought.
Rewiring.
Yeah, this isn't just about getting smarter in the traditional sense. It's a fundamental shift. It allows them to introspect, to imagine future outcomes, to consider hypotheticals, and to move towards genuinely mature decision-making, even if it doesn't always look that way to us on the outside.
But here's where it gets tricky for us adults, maybe. Have you ever found yourself in one of those endless debates with a teen thinking, are they just arguing to argue?
Oh, absolutely.
Or notice them leaping to conclusions, finding fault, being incredibly dramatic?
Yep.
The document offers a really insightful perspective. This is actually their brain experimenting with those powerful new reasoning skills.
Exactly. It's normal development.
Yeah.
And often it's not meant personally, even though it can feel that way.
Okay. That's helpful to remember.
So how does the document suggest adults respond to this new cognitive landscape?
Okay.
It advises listening non-judgmentally,
Okay.
allowing them to save face sometimes by not correcting every single logical flaw and really focusing on building trust.
And what about gender differences in thinking?
Well, interestingly, there are few overall cognitive differences between boys and girls documented, but their confidence in certain academic areas often falls along traditional gender stereotypes.
Like girls feeling more confident in reading, boys in math.
Precisely. And this is where adults can really make a difference by actively helping dispel these myths.
How?
By encouraging girls into advanced math or tech fields, and maybe encouraging boys into relationship-based volunteering or activities, expanding their choices and breaking down those expectations.
That makes sense. It's also reassuring to know that even with all this developing independence, teens still often turn to parents or trusted adults for the really important decisions.
Oh, absolutely. That really underscores our continuing impact, doesn't it?
It does.
The key insight here is that the level of maturity in their judgment can actually dip during the mid-teen years before it increases again.
Oh, interesting. A dip.
Yeah. So adults can help by expanding the options teens consider, carefully weighing consequences with them, providing accurate information to counter peer pressure, and also helping teens understand how their own emotions might be affecting their thinking in the moment.
And it's not just about one type of smart, right? The document mentions different theories of intelligence.
Exactly. It highlights Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, verbal, logical, mathematical, spatial, musical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalist, even possibly existential intelligence.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. And it also brings in Robert Sternberg's concept of successful intelligence, which includes analytical, creative, and practical abilities.
So what's the takeaway for us?
The powerful takeaway here is that teaching and learning are most successful when multiple intelligences are engaged.
Right, play to different strengths.
Precisely. It increases the chances of success by emphasizing different abilities. And parents are incredibly influential here. Emotional closeness is directly linked to adolescents' feelings of competence.
Shifting slightly, what about moral development during this time?
Well, that connects strongly to cognitive development, too. The source highlights volunteering in the community as a really powerful, positive avenue.
Like working at a food bank, you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a teen dedicating time to something like that. Not only does it foster a crucial sense of purpose, but this kind of engagement is actually linked to lower rates of teen pregnancy and academic struggles. It's a foundational piece of their growth.
That's fantastic.
And this developing sense of moral reasoning is very much tied to their cognitive maturation. Adults can model altruistic behavior and actively help youth learn to take others' perspectives.
Finally, on the cognitive front, what about learning disabilities?
That's a critical point. The document warns that learning disabilities can sometimes be masked in younger years, but become much more pronounced during adolescence.
And the risks associated with that.
Significantly higher risks for emotional distress, 2 to 3 times higher, especially for girls, along with increased risks for suicide attempts and even violence.
That's serious.
It is. And when we think about support for these youth, things like family connection, school support, and even religious identity emerge as powerful protective factors. It underscores the profound need for comprehensive support and careful monitoring for signs of anxiety or depression.
Okay, so I've covered physical and cognitive. Let's move into the emotional realm. Identity seems key here.
Absolutely. Developing a strong sense of identity is often seen as the central task of adolescents.
And it's not just about who they are now.
No, it's also about exploring who they might become in the future. A fascinating aspect here is the interplay of self-concept, their beliefs about themselves, and self-esteem, how they feel about those beliefs.
And what influences that?
All sorts of things. Physical changes, their new cognitive skills, and crucially, comments from parents and peers. They all heavily influence self-esteem during this period.
So how do you talk to an adolescent in a way that truly helps them define their identity and build that self-esteem? Does the document give pointers?
It gives fantastic practical tips. Ask non-threatening, open-ended questions like, whom do you admire? Or what are your hopes for the future?
Okay.
Listen non-judgmentally. Try to avoid those why questions that can sometimes put them on the defensive.
Yeah, those can feel like an interrogation.
Exactly. And casually model rational decision-making in your own life. They pick up on that.
What about specifically raising self-esteem?
The document advises focusing on specific areas that are valued by the adolescent, rather than trying to improve some sort of global self-esteem across the board.
So focus on their strengths or interests.
Right. Help them face problems, teach practical skills related to those interests, provide resources, and offer consistent encouragement.
But also be watchful.
Yes, be alert for signs of consistently low self-esteem, which is linked to depression, eating disorders, and delinquency. And importantly, know when it's time to refer for professional help, especially if there are any suicidal thoughts mentioned.
Beyond self-esteem, there's this idea of emotional intelligence, or EQ.
Yes, basically the ability to get along well with others and manage your own emotions effectively. This is absolutely crucial for success as adults.
What does that look like in practice?
The source details several key skills. Recognizing and managing emotions, which means learning to label feelings accurately so they can identify solutions, developing empathy, learning constructive conflict resolution, and fostering a cooperative spirit.
Can you give an example?
Well, they mentioned the jigsaw classroom technique. That's where students depend on each other for different parts of a project, learning that they each hold a vital piece of the puzzle. It builds cooperation.
That's clever. And emotional development isn't the same for everyone, right?
Not at all. It differs quite a bit by gender and ethnicity. For girls, self-esteem can often take a dip during adolescence.
Then boys?
For boys, they may need active encouragement to express emotions other than just anger, which is often the more socially sanctioned emotion for them.
What about ethnic identity?
Broadly speaking, the document highlights that developing a strong ethnic identity is really crucial for minority youth. It directly contributes to high self-esteem by connecting them with shared values, traditions, history.
So how can adults support that?
Professionals can encourage parents to discuss and practice their ethnic identity at home, make it a positive part of their lives.
The document also touches on LGBTQ plus youth, right?
Yes, it highlights the unique and significant challenges faced by gay, lesbian, and bisexual LGBT youth. They have to navigate their sexual identity in what is often, unfortunately, a largely homophobic society.
And that leads to higher risks.
It does. They're at higher risk for substance use, STDs, violence, and tragically, suicide attempts. But it's crucial to understand this is due to the intense stress and stigma they face, not because of their orientation itself.
So what's the guidance for professionals working with these young people?
It's very clear. Provide accurate information, avoid any form of disapproval, help youth identify and reject prejudice directed at them, and absolutely never pressure them about their sexual orientation.
And check our own biases.
Absolutely. Acknowledging and addressing any personal biases you might hold is key.
Okay, let's shift to the social world of adolescence. Peers become central, but family is still important.
Hugely important. For adolescents, the social hub typically shifts from family towards peers, yes, but crucially, family closeness remains incredibly important.
How important?
Well, strong family attachment is directly linked to lower rates of smoking, drug use, and earlier sexual intercourse.
So how should adults, especially parents, navigate this shift towards peers?
Professionals can reassure parents that increased peer contact is a normal, healthy developmental stage. It's not a sign that parents are becoming less important or that they're being rejected.
What do peers provide then?
They provide a temporary reference point for identity, they help with developing moral judgment, and they offer information about the world outside the family.
But there are downsides too, like peer pressure.
Definitely. Especially in early adolescence, conformity and that intense desire to belong can sometimes lead teens to engage in activities they otherwise wouldn't.
How can adults help with that?
Adults can play a significant role by helping teens withstand that pressure, perhaps by guiding them towards finding cool enough alternative groups that align with healthier choices.
And this changes over time.
Yes. As they move into late adolescence, those larger peer groups often give way to more intimate one-on-one friendships and eventually romantic relationships.
Social skills seem critical throughout this.
Paramount. The document points out that youth who lack these crucial skills are at higher risk for peer rejection, which in turn can lead to things like delinquency, drug abuse, and aggression.
So adults can help coach them.
Absolutely. Adults can truly be lifesavers by informally coaching them on basic skills like how to initiate a conversation or just be a good listener. Little things make a big difference.
What about dating and sexual behavior?
The document notes that dating typically starts between ages 14 and 16, often initially in a group context, not necessarily one-on-one right away.
And sexual activity.
By 12th grade, nearly half of white and Hispanic adolescents and about 65% of black adolescents report having had intercourse with black teens on average, starting earlier.
There was an interesting point about how teens define sex, wasn't there?
Yes, a crucial point. Teens might have different ideas about what having sex actually means. Sometimes they engage in outercourse, that's sexual activity that doesn't involve penetrative intercourse, thinking they're safe from pregnancy or STDs.
Which they aren't always, right?
Exactly. This really highlights the need for clear communication and comprehensive education about all sensual behaviors and the risks of STDs.
So professionals need to be direct.
Very direct. Frank and open about sexual health, contraception, and STD prevention, while always being sensitive to confidentiality and avoiding any judgment.
And going back to family, the structure doesn't matter as much as the quality.
That's what the research consistently shows. Regardless of the form single parent, blended two-parent, it's the quality of the family relationships that's consistently linked to better emotional development and fewer high-risk activities.
But conflict with parents does increase.
It tends to, yes, especially between girls and mothers. But the document stresses this is often a normal part of gaining independence.
So parents shouldn't take it purely as rejection.
They should try not to. Parents should be reassured that this awkwardness or increased friction isn't necessarily rejection, and the key is to absolutely stay involved. Don't pull back.
Okay, what about school? That's another huge context.
Critical context. Positive relationships with teachers and a strong sense of belonging at school are directly linked to academic success and lower rates of drug use or delinquency.
Are there tricky points, like transitions?
Yes, the document specifically highlights transitions, like the move to middle school, as times when academic performance and overall well-being can sometimes decline.
So be extra vigilant then.
Exactly. Professionals and parents alike should be alert during these periods and maybe provide some extra support.
The importance of finishing high school is stressed too.
Definitely. The document really hammers home how crucial a high school diploma is for future economic success. And for those not heading straight to college, it emphasizes vocational training as a really vital pathway.
What about part-time jobs? Good or bad?
Both, potentially.
Yeah.
Many adolescents work part-time, learning valuable lessons about responsibility, time management, finance.
But there's a limit.
Yes. The document warns that working 20 or more hours a week during the school year becomes a significant risk factor.
For what?
For injuries, lower academic achievement, substance abuse, and simply not getting enough sleep, which affects everything else.
And finally, the wider community matters too.
Profoundly. The characteristics of the community, neighborhood, socioeconomic status, stability affect academic achievement, delinquency rates, sexual activity rates. It all interconnects.
Are there positive community influences mentioned?
Yes. Institutions like faith communities often offer positive role models and a sense of meaning. This involvement is linked to less alcohol and marijuana use and less early sexual activity.
And the media, big influence.
Huge, consuming 6 to 8 hours of a teen's day on average. It's a double-edged sword, a source of both negative influences, stereotypes, pressures, but also incredible educational opportunities.
Any specific media concerns highlighted?
Well, on that note, the document specifically mentions online risks. Almost a third of girls surveyed reported being sexually harassed online, but were hesitant to tell parents.
That's worrying.
It is. It shows adults need to address these online risks in a non-judgmental, open way, creating a safe space for teens to talk about it.
Okay, that brings us to the final area, behavioral development, which touches on risk-taking.
Right. And adolescent risk-taking is presented as, well, a natural part of developing identity, practicing decision-making skills, and kind of assessing the world around them.
But it can obviously have serious consequences.
Very real threats. The statistics from the source are stark and pretty sobering. An alarming 72% of all deaths among youth ages 10-24 are linked to just 4 types of behaviors.
What are they?
Motor vehicle crashes account for 31%, homicide 18%, suicide 12%, and other unintentional injuries 11%.
That's staggering. 3/4 of deaths linked to behavior.
It is. And the document goes on to list numerous other risk behaviors, from cigarette smoking, which 70% of high schoolers have tried.
70%.
Yes. And alcohol use, which 81% have tried at some point, to things like weapon carrying and early or unprotected sexual intercourse, noting gender and ethnic differences in prevalence as well.
Why do they take these risks? Is just one reason?
Rarely just one. The document highlights a range of reasons. Maybe the need for excitement, thrill-seeking, maybe seeking peer acceptance and status, or sometimes just modeling adult behavior they see around them.
Right.
The source reminds us teens aren't monolithic. They often have multiple complex reasons. And sometimes the fear of social consequences, like being excluded, can actually outweigh the perceived health risks for them.
So, given that risk-taking is somewhat normal, what's the goal for adults?
The document emphasizes that since some level of risk-taking is normal, the key isn't to eliminate it entirely, because you probably can't. It's to guide their decision-making and help channel that natural energy and curiosity into constructive, less dangerous pursuits. Whether that's a new sport, joining the school play, learning a musical instrument, something engaging.
Makes sense. Redirect the energy.
Exactly. But a critical question then becomes, when does normal experimentation cross the line into truly problematic behavior?
Are there signs?
Yes. The document provides some clear red flags to watch for. When risk behaviors start very early, maybe ages 8 or 9.
That early.
Sometimes, yes. Also, when the behaviors are ongoing and frequent, rather than just occasional experimentation. And when they occur consistently with peers who are engaged in similar high-risk activities.
And multiple risks together.
Yes, a clustering of multiple risk behaviors happening at the same time is also a strong indicator that something more serious might be going on.
The source details some of those serious risks, like substance abuse.
Right, alcohol and drug abuse, noting factors like parental substance abuse or lack of parental monitoring as significant risks. Pregnancy and STDs, highlighting that the U.S. has surprisingly high teen pregnancy rates compared to other developed countries, largely due to differences in contraceptive use, not just activity levels, and that 4 million teens contract STDs annually.
4 million?
Yeah. Also, school failure and dropping out, pointing out that, for example, 36% of Hispanic 18 to 24-year-olds hadn't graduated high school at the time of the report. And of course, delinquency, crime, and violence.
Are there overarching risk factors?
Looking at the broader picture, living in poverty is identified as a particularly powerful risk factor that increases the likelihood of many of these high-risk problem behaviors across the board.
Okay, that sounds quite challenging. But there's good news too, right? The idea of protective factors.
Yes, absolutely. There are powerful protective factors at play, and the related concept of resilience, which is essentially having good outcomes, thriving even, despite facing serious threats or adversity.
What helps build that resilience? What are the key factors?
Now, the document lists several, but one stands out above all others.
Which is?
A stable, positive relationship with at least one caring adult. Whether it's a parent, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a relative, having that one consistent, supportive adult is paramount.
That's really powerful. What else?
Other key factors include religious and spiritual anchors that provide a sense of meaning and purpose in life.
Okay.
Also, high but realistic academic expectations combined with adequate support from schools. They need both challenge and help.
Makes sense.
A positive family environment characterized by warmth, nurturing parenting, but also clear limits and respect for the adolescent's growing autonomy. It's a balance.
Warmth and limits.
Exactly. And finally, developing that emotional intelligence we talked about earlier and the ability to cope with stress effectively.
And resilience isn't just something you're born with.
Not at all. The document really drives home that resilience is largely a function of developmental experiences grounded in a community context. It highlights that communities that actively prioritize the needs of their youth are the ones that truly foster resilient young people. It takes a village, essentially.
So, bringing this all together, what does this deep dive really mean for you, the listener?
I think it shows that adolescence is this time of incredible transformation, far more complex and, frankly, more positive for most kids than just storm and stress.
It's about recognizing what's normal, guiding the healthy development we see, and knowing when and how to intervene for behaviors that are genuinely problematic.
And thinking about how you specifically can make a difference. The APA document concludes by emphasizing that literally every professional, every adult working with adolescents has the potential to make a profound positive impact.
What's the core message?
It's about consistently giving youth the message that they are worthwhile, that people care about them, and that valuable resources are available to meet their needs if they're struggling.
It's about understanding their normal developmental course, as the EPA puts it, and directing that incredible courage and creativity of normal adolescence into healthy pursuits.
Right, using that energy for good. And ultimately, it's about recognizing that resilience isn't just some individual characteristic you either have or you don't.
It's nurtured.
Exactly. It's something that is actively nurtured and fostered through strong relationships and robust community support.
So maybe the final thought for you to mull over is this. How can we, as a society, work to ensure that every single adolescent, regardless of their background or their circumstances, has access to those critical protective factors that we know build resilience?
How do we make sure they all have that chance to let their unique courage and creativity truly flourish?